Blah, blah, blah.
Hey guys, Kyle the Otaku here, and oh my god, we're halfway through. We are officially at the halfway mark. 15 out of the 30 films squashed. I honestly thought I'd be feeling fatigue at this point, but I'm feeling great right now. I'm still rolling, baby. So yes, welcome back, gruesome ghoulies, to Shelf-O-Ween. And welcome to our 4th installment, with this week's category being Screaming with Laughter. Yes, today we delve into the world of horror comedies. The intentionally funny, not the unintentionally funny. And I am extra excited because today we are talking about one of my favorite picks for Halloween, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. For those of you who have been with the channel for a little while, which is not most of you, well, I'm gonna be honest. A couple years back, I made a top 10 list of my favorite movies to watch around Halloween. Check it out if you want to, but it was before I found my identity on this platform, using a font that did not like my editing software. But yes, we are talking about one of, if not my absolute favorite, horror comedy. I'm a film buff. I love film history, I love the golden age of cinema, I love the Universal monsters, and I have a particular taste in vaudevillian comedy. The film literally fires on all of my cylinders. The film was released in the mid-40s, and around this time, the Universal monster steam engine was running out of steam.
Not to worry, this man simply ran out of steam. Does anyone have any steam on them? Anyone? Anyone? No steam, huh?
So they decided that the next film in their lineup was going to be another hodgepodge of multiple monsters, but with a comedic twist. And what better way to go than with the titan duo of comedy, Abbott and Costello. And they did. Until they almost didn't. See, Abbott and Costello have been in a lot of features. They've had their own little mini-series. They've had many live performances in multiple cities and states and countries. It's just that they didn't like the script. Like at all. To quote Lou Costello, "You don't expect me to say this crap, do you? My 5-year-old daughter can write a better script than this." So Universal paid them extensively to be in this picture. It was just a small sum of $50,000, which, including inflation, is around $500,000. This was the mid-40s. The Depression literally just ended. Abbott and Costello Meets Frankenstein, originally titled The Brain of Frankenstein, centers around Dracula, played for the second and last time by Bela Lugosi, plotting to turn the Frankenstein monster into his obedient slave. The main monkey wrench in that plan is that obedience and the Frankenstein monster never really got along. So Dracula hatches a plan to replace the monster's corrupted brain with the brain of an absolute moron. The brain picked out for this procedure being Lou Costello. But all is not lost as Abbott and Costello have their own monster on their side, the Wolfman, played once again by Lon Chaney Jr. Apparently Mr. Talbot has been having beef with Dracula and has been chasing him around to try and stop his evil plans. Now I would say that's a pretty hefty lineup of monsters if the previous two films weren't House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula, both of which featured the Frankenstein monster, Dracula, and the Wolfman. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The thing is, the original script for Brain of Frankenstein had more monsters. It had Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Karis the Mummy from the Mummy's Hand series, the Invisible Man, and even the son of Dracula was supposed to be in there, which would have been strange considering in Son of Dracula it was revealed that it was just Dracula, and Lon Chaney Jr. can't really play both Alucard and the Wolfman. But even though they cut out most of the other monsters, leaving us with the main three and a cameo of the Invisible Man played by Vincent Price, it's still a pretty fun monster mash. And there is something surreally funny about the intensity of Lugosi working off of Lou Costello. Literally, two of the people of the times you'd never expect to be in the same picture together. And there's nothing really else to say about the structure of the film. It's a 40s Universal monster movie in the same sort of vein of House of Dracula and House of Frankenstein, but with Abbott and Costello being Abbott and Costello. Now, of course, your own enjoyment of the movie solely depends on if you enjoy vaudevillian-style humor. There's some slapstick, some wordplay, that kind of thing. The film can be tense when it wants to be, and it can be funny when it wants to be. This film would kick off a sort of second breath for Abbott and Costello, for after this film, they would go on to star in about 3 more Universal Monster comedy films. Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy, and Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. While Abbott and Costello Meets the Mummy goes on for a little too long in my opinion, Mr. Hyde is okay, the Invisible Man's pretty funny, but nothing is ever gonna top, in my opinion, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Which, I should probably add, they never do. There is no one of the Frankenstein family in this movie. There is a moment where Lou calls the Frankenstein monster Frankie, which is sort of like a cute little joke. We all know that's incorrect, but it's still fun. And yeah, that wraps up Night 16. So join me next time where we move on from the Golden Age into something a little more splattery. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil was released in 2010. The film is about 2 hillbilly best buds, Tucker and Dale, who buy a summer cottage out in the middle of the woods. Meanwhile, a group of college friends are going up there for summer vacation. What follows is a cavalcade of misunderstandings and mishaps that lead to gruesome yet creative deaths and a story filled with heart. This is another movie, much like Cabin in the Woods, that takes the ideas of horror cliches and turns it on its head. In this case, the murderous hillbillies in the film aren't murderous hillbillies at all, they're just 2 best friends trying to go on a fishing trip when they inadvertently get mixed up in a whole bunch of misunderstandings that caused a lot of people to die. In gruesome but hilarious ways. My favorite one being the wood chipper. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil was an indie project, a love letter, and it is glorious. And the camaraderie between Taylor Laban and Alan Tudyk is funny as hell. Tucker, played by Alan Tudyk, is basically there just to suffer. Seriously, he is the person that gets the most abuse out of everyone in this movie. And it mostly stems from him just having shit luck. Throughout the film, man has been swarmed by bees, lost a few fingers, was beaten, shot at, nearly arrested. The man is there just to feel pain. Taylor Laban plays Dale, a lovable, kind-hearted soul who has terrible people skills. Yeah, not gonna lie, Dale is basically the one that leads to most of the miscommunications that happen in this movie. He's socially awkward, but lovable, and kinda brilliant. As he put it, "Oh, I'm not smart, I just remember everything that anyone's ever told me." Aside from a few instances of CG blood, which there isn't a lot of, everything that happens in this movie is beautifully practical. And like I said, the kills are damn hilarious, and not in the ironic sense, in the oh my god that just happened kinda sense. You are bound to bust a gut laughing at least 1 or 2 of these happenstance kills. There are more accidents in this movie than Final Destination, I swear to God. The theme of this movie is miscommunication. There's a character in the movie who tells Dale that they are studying psychology in college to get a major in psychology because they themselves believe that most violent occurrences and tragedies happen due to poor communication. I've never seen a movie blatantly spell out its theme, but it kind of feels organic in this movie. The best way to think of this movie is Three's Company, but with guts. Because it's all about misunderstandings. It's one of my favorite gory comedies out there. It kinda helps that I fucking love Alan Tudyk and everything he's in. It's crazy the range of energy that he brings to each individual role. Like it's sort of like he gauges, all right, so how crazy am I going to be today? It's fantastic. It is utterly fantastic. It's hilarious. I love it. And yeah, that wraps up Night 17. But now I think it's time to step away from pure-blooded horror and move on to something a little more family-oriented. Monster Go Home was released in 1966. The feature film debut of America's favorite monster family. And my favorite monster family, dare I say? More than the Addams Family. That's right, I fucking said it. When it comes to 1950s sitcoms, The Munsters definitely fits my tastes. And lo and behold, The Munsters have quite a few feature films. Monster Go Home follows the Munster clan as they inherit an estate in jolly old England, Munster Hole as it's called. But the English Munsters don't take too kindly to Herman inheriting their estate, and come up with many schemes to remove Herman from the census and claim the estate for themselves. Now, I'm a firm believer that if you make a movie out of a TV show, there has to be a plot that feels more cinematic and big than the usual standard plots of a TV episode. Monster Go Home follows the safest route, which is to have the family leave their usual setting and head to like a different country or what have you. It's safe, but they do manage to make it feel bigger than it usually is. And I kind of like the characterization of the English Munsters. Like, there's one named Freddy, who is a complete spoiled child, but also kind of a psychopath. Throughout the film, he constantly begs his mother to bludgeon Herman to death. Oh, come on, Mommy, let me bludgeon him. Let me cave his skull in, please. I know it's not my birthday, but please, I just want to murder. And they make it abundantly clear that he is just a spoiled brat with a child's mentality. I mean, the man sucks his thumb, for God's sake. Then there's Herman's other cousin, who has a very bizarre habit of hissing. Big old family of loons. But the real threat stems from a mysterious character known as the Griffin. A character that is the mastermind behind why the English Munsters want to keep Munster Hall. There are a lot of set pieces in this movie. There's a scene where Grandpa and Herman are looking for the mystery of Munster Hall, and it leads them down into the catacombs of the underground of the castle. Anything involving Grandpa and Herman is just a plus in my book. They are a great comedic duo. Al Lewis and Fred Gwynne are brilliant together, whether it's The Munsters, Car 54, Where Are You? Like anything they're in together, it's gonna be gold. The climax to the film is a massive drag race between Herman and several other racers, but there's added tension because while it's a race in terms of Herman being in a literal race, it's also a race in terms of Lily and Grandpa trying to save Herman from the Griffin, who has taken over one of the cars and is trying to kill him during the race. And the rest is your usual Munster antics, people reacting over the top, scared when they see them, and running away with the footage sped up, good old classic fun. There's your usual Munster gags, like Grandpa opening a coffin is like, I'm gonna see if it's someone we know, maybe it's someone who knows what's going on here. Basically, if you like the Munsters like I do, then you're going to enjoy Monster Go Home. And that does it for Night 18. I don't really have a segue this time. We're going to the 80s. Transylvania 65000 was released in 1985. And this is one of the more hit or miss horror comedies. As in, some people think it's funny, some people don't. As for me, it's about a 50-50. Some jokes work, some jokes don't work, but you're really gonna laugh at the ones that work. The film follows two tabloid reporters as they travel to Transylvania in search of the Frankenstein monster. As they investigate, they stay in the newly refurbished Transylvania 65000 hotel. The film stars Jeff Goldblum and Joseph Bologna. Jeff Goldblum being the straight man, while Bologna plays the gullible goof. The sense of humor that this film carries is what I call bit humor, where every single joke is just a bit. It's gonna work for some people, it's not gonna work for some other people. Again, for me, it's hit or miss. One of the bits that worked for me, that actually got a good chuckle out of me when I first saw it in high school, was the bit where Bologna was trying to hop the fence and Jeff Goldblum was trying to help him get into this mental institution. He would give him a mental patient robe and told him to hop over the fence so he can blend in with the other lunatics. But right when he's halfway over the top, Goldblum yells to one of the guards, "Patient trying to get out, patient trying to get out." And the guard comes over, yanks him down, is like, "You get back in there," and with the rest of the loonies. And then when he found out what he was looking for, and he tries to hop the fence to get out, he takes off the robe and starts climbing the fence again, and Goldblum yells out, "Guy trying to get in, guy trying to get in." And the guard comes over, rips him off the wall, and throws his ass out. Like, it's a scene that I'm surprised hasn't been done before. Like, it seems like such an obvious punchline. Now, as I said, they're on the lookout for the Frankenstein monster, but they find a little bit more than just the Frankenstein monster. We got the Frankenstein monster, a wolf man, a mummy, a contortionist, a vampire beauty, a family of hunchbacks, and a mad scientist. The mad scientist in this movie is probably one of my favorite characters, or at least I think is the funniest character in the movie. And it's all because of one singular bit that he's a part of. And that comedic bit is that he's only mad when he's in his lab. Like, one of the bits is that he just got from the asylum to the underground laboratory with the two hunchback characters, and he's like, "All right, let's just put on my lab coat here. You two okay? You two good? Okay, now it's time to get to work. Come on, let's go in." Home! I'm finally home! The second he crosses the threshold to his lab, he immediately loses all control of himself. And what I find the funniest thing about it is that all the other monsters, they give explanations for, but why he goes insane when he enters his lab is never explained. Speaking of the monsters, have you ever thought that there would come a day in your life where you saw a movie where Gina Davis, throughout her entire part in the movie, played a half-naked nymphomatic vampire girl? Neither have I. And all I have to say is, damn. Now, there are a few characters that get on my nerves a little bit. One of them being the weird bellhop of the hotel played by Kramer. His whole bit is that his character loves doing bits. Deliberately slipping on a banana peel, using the old fake hand gag when handing someone a letter, riding a quarter mall ride in a closet for some reason. And it wouldn't be too bad if he was funny, but his character's not funny. The only time his character kinda got a chuckle out of me was when he was doing the fake hand gag and then they push him out of the room and then his leg gets caught in the door and he lets out this blood-curdling scream only to then reveal that it was a fake leg the whole time. He's like, he's funny, huh? I was expecting the hand, but I was not expecting the fake leg. The fake leg actually was kind of funny. But that's kind of the thing about Transylvania 65000. Like I said, it's one of those laugh at it or don't laugh at it kind of comedies. Me personally, I kind of like it. It's a goofy time. And it possibly has one of my favorite swerve endings of any horror comedy. I'm not gonna say what it was, but it's actually kind of interesting. And that does it for night 19. So far, Transylvania 65000 was the only miss, but I see no better way than to end the screaming with laughter segment than with one of the godfathers of parody film. Dracula, Dead and Loving It came out in 1995. The film was made by parody legend Mel Brooks. After the success of Spaceballs and the moderate success of Robin Hood Man in Tights, it was a wonder of what Mel's next project was going to be. And I can only imagine how excited some people must have been to hear that his next project was going to be a parody of Dracula. You figure this is the guy that made Young Frankenstein, the man that turned one of the most iconic horror monsters of all time and made it into one of the best parody films of all time. So to hear him tackle another Universal monster, it must have been pretty exciting. Starring Leslie Nielsen nonetheless. Will he capture the same magic as he did with Young Frankenstein? No. But I still really like it. Dracula Dead and Loving It came out around the time people started to catch on to Mel Brooks' shtick, and there is a lot of Mel Brooks shtick in this movie, and I'd be lying if I said it all landed. There are some jokes that don't particularly work, but the majority of them, in my opinion, do work very well. Again, it's no Young Frankenstein, but it's still pretty damn funny, if you're into Mel Brooks' style of humor. The film's plot is sort of a combination parody of Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula and the original 1931 Dracula. Comedy legend Leslie Nielsen plays Dracula in this film. And I'm sorry, Leslie Nielsen is just gold in everything he's in. Yes, even Scary Movie 3. And 4. And Stan Helsing. I can keep going. The man is a non-stop smile machine, and every time I see him, I get a fucking smile. Mel Brooks plays Professor Van Helsing. And seeing Mel Brooks try and match wits with Leslie Nielsen, it's exactly how you think it's gonna be. They don't have a lot of interaction in the movie, unfortunately, but when they do, it's gold. The only issue I have with Mel's performance is that it's clear he's kinda getting tired of doing this, and it shows in his performance. He also does a German accent throughout the majority of the film. He mostly uses it for punchlines, though. But the real comedy, the man that steals the show, is Renfield. Every scene that Renfield is in just cracks me the fuck up. And it's all due in part to his actor's performance. I don't remember his name, unfortunately. But the man has a certain cadence in his voice that just... he has a certain range with his vocals, and he knows how to, like, over-express, and it's hilarious. Like the scene when he's thrown back into his cell after he invaded Mina's room. He was sent there to remove garlic weeds and wolfsbane from the room, one of which was under Mina's comforter. So he gets thrown into his cell, gets called a pervert, and is like, "I didn't see anything! I didn't see anything!" I saw everything. Renfield is definitely the golden comic in this movie. There's really not much for me to say on this film, I just find it hilarious at times. Not all the jokes work, but the ones that do really make me fucking laugh my ass off. One of my favorite bits is when they're staking a vampire and Van Helsing makes Jonathan Harker do it. Yeah. You do it. Oh no, it's ghastly. It must be done by someone who loved her in life. I only liked her. Close enough. So he goes to stake the vampire, and Van Helsing's like, "Wait a minute." He goes behind a pillar and he's like, "Okay, now go." And the second he slams the mallet down, a geyser of blood just explodes in his face. He gives her one more thwap, and even more blood just explodes in his face, and Van Helsing's like, "Alright, she's almost dead. She's dead enough." Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing else that I can say. If I keep going, the only thing I'm going to be doing is just spouting off more of my favorite bits, and that would be revealing too much about the movie, so by all means, go and see it yourself. It is a riot, in my opinion, but again, it's only if you're into Mel Brooks' style of comedy. And that is a wrap on Screaming with Laughter. And there's only 10 days left. That is crazy to me. 20 movies down, 30 movies left. We are 2/3 the way through, and I am having so much fun doing this too. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Kyle the Otaku, and join me next time so we can throw a rave to the grave. Later.